to the podcast Almost There, real conversations with business owners about what's working, what's changing, and what's challenging, so that we all business owners can share and learn from each other. Today, I'm joined by Hank Levine. Hank is a serial entrepreneur and the founder and chairman of Be Additive. Be Additive is a global talent and workforce company. Be Additive supports companies hiring worldwide, and Hank shared with me recently that a major focus right now is senior AI talent and their AI talent marketplace. Hanks, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you for having me as a guest on your podcast.
Thank you, Hank. The pleasure is mine. So Hank, to start us off, please share your story. How did you get into building multiple businesses in the first place?
Okay, well, I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. So my father was in business with my uncle, his brother, and they had a bunch of hardware stores. I always worked at them. I was, again, always in an entrepreneurial environment. And I realized at a very young age, I'm a much happier driver than a passenger as it comes to work. But what I really love about entrepreneurship, it's not so much making money. It's really an opportunity to create something bigger than yourself that's consistent with your value system. It's hard to scale your value system. And I think doing that in business is one of the best ways you can do that. So that's what's really inspired me to start a lot of companies.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So Hank, you've built and operated across different chapters and cycles. What pattern have you noticed that stays true in business, no matter what the market is doing?
Well, when it comes to starting a business, I was always told at a young age that find a find a big market with a serious problem to solve and focus on it, build a business around it. But I would say equally important is to catch the wave. I've had multiple examples of where I've gone after big markets, but I went in too early before the technology was ready, or something in the business climate, it just wasn't favorable. So if you come in too early, it's really hard to be successful. And of course, if you come in too late after there's entrenched competitors, you have a big challenge too. So find a big market with an unsolved problem, but enter at the right time.
So timing is the key.
Yeah, easier said than done, right?
Yes, absolutely. So Frank, when you look at Be Additive today, what do you think you do differently that clients actually feel?
Well, so let me just talk very briefly about what our company does. So we
Mhm.
are a global recruiting company, and we have a number of different companies under the umbrella of Be Additive Corporation.
Mhm.
So we have a staffing firm that operates in North America. So it's like a traditional staffing firm. We also have a knowledge process outsourcing business, and that business has subsidiaries in India and the Philippines. And that business is we work with companies in the US and Europe, and we set up teams for them, primarily in India and Philippines. So it could be a team of software developers, could be a marketing team, could be a back office, but we put the whole team together for them. And then the most exciting thing that we're doing is we also have a software company called Be Additive Tech. And Be
Okay.
Additive Tech, we are solving the problem that funded AI startups have in hiring senior talent.
Okay. So since you're focused on, like, you mentioned that you're focused on AI talent marketplace, right? If you could go down a little bit more deeper, what problem is that marketplace trying to solve in plain language?
So here's the problem. I'm sure you read every day about AI companies who have raised just unimaginable amounts of money. Money like we've never seen in the history of business. And the VCs who are investing this money, once they put the money in, they want to see products get built very, very fast. Now, the ironic thing is at the entry level area of AI, there's actually a lot of talent available. But when you go up into the senior AI positions, there is way, way more demand than there is available talent. And so the salaries for these people are just incredible. It's not unusual at all for very senior people in AI to get paid $300,000 to $500,000 a year. And
Mm.
even when the startup is willing to pay that, they often find that people won't accept their job offer because those people are in such demand. They can pick their jobs. They'd rather go work for big tech because they feel that's closer to a cash out, closer to the money, doing more interesting work on a big stage.
Mm.
So without this senior talent, these funded AI startups cannot build their products very effectively. In
Mm.
the meantime, we have been working in offshore markets. We're working in 43 of them right now, and especially India and Philippines. And there's a lot of very good senior AI talent there, but they're working with local companies. And most of the people working there would prefer to work for a global company, particularly a company out of Silicon Valley, because that really builds your profile. That's
Mhm.
just, that's that's where the action is.
Mm.
So they can get a job with a company in Silicon Valley. They can probably get a 30-40% pay bump and really build their profile. So the marketplace we're building will work with these funded startups, list their job openings. We have account managers holding their hand the whole way through this to really define what they're looking for. We also have a very large number of vetted senior AI talent in our marketplace.
Mhm.
But if someone isn't a perfect fit, we have recruiters who can work worldwide to find that talent. And then we match them up, typically under very long contracts. So it's very similar to hiring a full time employee. Contract could be a year or two. And for the company in the US or Europe, they get talent. They can hire it in 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm.
And it's generally one third to half the cost of hiring someone directly in the US.
Mm. Mm. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, do you think this is something but anything particular the companies constantly underestimate when they try to hire a senior AI talent?
Uh, yeah, I think it's different than it used to be.
Mhm.
So, in the past, there was a lot of emphasis on the hard skills people have,
Mhm.
even in the senior positions. Now there's a lot of technology that make the more routine parts of building apps,
Mm.
through vibe coding and using tools like Cursor along with Claude. And what you really need in these senior positions is a little less emphasis on technical expertise and more on people who are really networked and know how to build things and get things done. One of the things that I just find amazing, it's even true in our company. I've worked in a bunch of venture capital backed software companies.
Mm.
And the type of thing, building our marketplace, if we had done that 10 years ago, we probably would need a team of 15 or 20 software development people. Now, what you really need is you need a senior person who's really good at building products. You
Mhm.
need a senior person who's a subject matter expert in your industry, similar to a business analyst, but
Mhm.
a little broader.
Mhm.
And you probably need two full stack developers. That replaces like 15 to 20 people and they build products faster. So you build it through vibe coding, or at
Mm.
least the base of it. I watch our people do vibe coding and my jaw just drops
Mm.
because they sit there and they give prompts. They can give prompts verbally to their screen.
Mm.
And as they're talking, you see another screen and code's being written.
Mm.
And it's just phenomenal to watch. You can get the product at about an 80% level with vibe coding. Then you need some senior people to clean it up.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. So with all this happening, and if I'm asked, what part of hiring workflow takes more energy than it should? You feel?
Well, I think this is somewhere where AI is impacting hiring because everyone's using AI. Companies are using AI and candidates are using AI. And so, when you're interviewing, uh, you got to be careful. A lot of times the answers aren't coming from the candidate. They're coming from, a generative AI tool. When you're looking at resumes, oftentimes the candidate didn't prepare them. And so I still think AI can do a lot of lower level tasks, particularly tasks that are routine and well defined very effectively. At the end of the day, recruiting is a people business. And
Mm.
you need good recruiters with good insights who understand the industry. And you really need to ask a lot of open ended questions where there's no obvious answer so that
Mm.
you can see how candidates think.
Mm.
Most recruiters can't do that. They're used to asking questions like, "How many years of experience do you have?" That question is useless.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, Hank, on the flip side, what's one change in the last couple of years that genuinely improved how the workflows in recruiting and hiring you feel?
Well, the obvious answer to that is AI. All right, so we
Yeah.
use AI all over the place.
Okay.
It's great both on the account manager side as well as the recruiter side. So for account management, It's great for identifying potential clients and doing research on them,
Mm,
not only on their company, but on the hiring managers, and it will prepare questions for you. It used to be if you had a really targeted account management approach, you might spend 2 days researching a client before you were really prepared to talk to them.
mm,
Now you can do that probably in half an hour. So
mm,
that's pretty amazing.
mm,
On the candidate side, same thing. AI is great for sourcing candidates. If you have lower level jobs, I don't think for more senior jobs, but you can do agentic interviews where you can eliminate a lot of the candidates. And uh, and then again, the research, recruiters should do research so that they ask intelligent questions so you can help create open-ended questions for candidates. So all this stuff you can do with AI. And what it really means is that a recruiting organization can probably grow with half the people it used to need to grow before. So for a company like ours, which is 2 years old, that's unbelievably good because
mm,
um, all the people in our company are very, very experienced. They're very, very productive. They're excellent at their jobs,
mm,
and we don't have to hire nearly as fast, even though we're growing as a company. Now,
mm,
if you're a big recruiting company,
mhm.
and you only need one recruiter for every two you had before, then you have a lot of challenges because you probably had to have layoffs.
Thanks for sharing that, Hank. And so, if I may ask, right? So, with the technology, everything, all that, since you mentioned that recruiting is more of a people business, right? So, when you hire somebody or when your recruiters look for a candidate for a company, what are the things that you actually look at apart from skills, right? Do you look at qualities that a person brings to the table, and is there any metric that you guys look at as well as an individual?
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is an answer to AI or an answer in general, but my hiring philosophy is when you hire senior people, senior leadership, you hire for values. You
Mm,
can have other people interview people, and you can determine that they have the skills. And if they've gone to a point in their career where they're looking for a very senior job, you can assume that they have the skills, but if you have a value mismatch, it'll
mm,
never work out in the long run. So again, what I like to do is in one of my previous companies, I wrote this big document called Guiding Philosophy document. It was all the philosophies of the company. And from that, I created a little template for myself called Guiding Philosophy Interview. It's just all questions about values. And these questions are not obvious. All
mm,
right. So the
mm,
thing that's hard on values is, there's certain things that are black and white, right? You don't want to ask someone, is it okay to steal? Because
mm,
everyone knows they're going to say it's not okay. But you ask them a question where you're in a situation where you either need to steal or something terrible is going to happen. What would you do? That's when you have a conflict in values, then the answer is hard. And what
mm,
you really get to see when you ask those questions
mm,
is you see how people think, how they work through it, and what's really at their core. And if
mm,
they're not a match with what you believe in, they're probably not a good senior hire.
mm,
Now, at the lower level, I think the thing that's changing dramatically are that job cycles. How long you'll be doing the same thing in your job is just getting more and more and more compressed. There's virtually no job today that you'll do your whole life. Can't even really think of any. But there were a lot of jobs not too long ago that you might do for 5 years. Now you might do them for 6 months.
mm,
So I think the most important thing you need is you need to hire people who love to learn.
mm,
Because if you're not loving learning and upskilling, you're
mm.
going to become obsolete in a year.
Absolutely beautiful. I think the importance of value is something that comes with experience or age, or how long you've been doing a job or business. And like if it was me 10 years ago, for me, value is just something good to listen or good to talk about, right? But now
Mhm.
I understand personally as well the importance of value. And all the leaders that I speak to, they are very heavy on value, right? So for the people who are listening, Hank, you've done multiple businesses, you've hired a lot of senior people. Why do you think value is such an important trait, Hank?
I'm not sure I would agree that it is important to most people. So one of the things that I've always been very skeptical of is, companies who put their core values or so on their website.
Mhm.
I think that most companies who do that put them up because they think they're supposed to. It's just part of what you're supposed
Mm,
to have on your website. And the reason I make that statement is because my experience is for most companies, when they have the choice of following their core values, but it would cost them a lot of money, or they can take the money but ignore their core values, I would
mm,
say 90% of them take the money. And
mm,
so if that's really how you conduct your business, then you don't really believe in your core values. So at Be Additive, our whole name's about values, right? It's about adding value to the world. And we
mm,
don't have core values. We have a
mm,
statement of purpose
mm,
that we talk about how every person should do three things: be kind, be impactful. So that's scaling your kindness, and being courageous. Because there's a lot of bad people in the world, and a lot
mm,
of bad people are doing very well, and you have to stand up to them.
mm,
Otherwise, they'll continue doing bad things.
mm.
So that's those are my personal values.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, um, so Hank, before we kind of wrap up and things like that, for anybody who's listening who might need senior AI talent or global hiring support, what's the best way to understand Be Additive and who is it actually a great fit for?
Well, okay. So the best way to reach us is just www.beadditive.com. For the senior AI talent, it's www.beadditivetech.com.
Hmm.
And you can reach out directly to me, Hank.Levine at beadditive.com, or go to my LinkedIn profile. And we would be delighted to talk to you and understand your needs.
Perfect, sure. And I will be sure to make to put all those details in the description as well. So before we close, last question. So if a founder or business lead is trying to hire top talent this year, what's one piece of advice you'd want them to take seriously?
Well, one of the things that's clearly happening is we all know it's a pretty tough job market right now. So the buyers, the people hiring people, are in control. One of the ways that you see that play out is hiring decisions are made very slowly. Sometimes there's three, four, or five, even six rounds of interviews. Sometimes there are hiring organizations that know candidates are a little desperate, so they try to lowball them. My advice is be fair, right? So you don't want to overpay, and you want to be thorough in your interviewing. But when you treat candidates well, they remember. It's really, really hard to change someone's first impression. And when
Mm.
someone joins an organization, that first impression stays with them. They tell their family, they tell their friends. And so take that into consideration.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think again it kind of ties back to the values some way or the other. Yes. So thanks, Hank. Thank you so much. I appreciate the straight talk. Your answers were so precise and to the point. It shows your experience. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this with me today.
All right. Thanks, Rose. That was fun.